Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, I'm finally bringing you guys a tier list on all 44 brawlers in the game. As you guys probably know, I've not played too much ladder recently, but been playing a lot of scrims, at least around 5 hours a day, practicing really hard. So this tier list probably more based on the competitive meta, more so than ladder. But for sure, give or take 5 places on probably every single brawler, it's going to be a really accurate list. But before we get into today's video, make sure you're checking out my video on my second channel. I did a breakdown of my qualifier games. We have 3 more rounds left of the qualifiers that we're playing today, Monday, probably in a few hours time when this video goes up. So make sure you're also watching the stream to support us. I'll put a link to Ark's Twitch in the description so you guys can watch us playing the qualifiers. Without further ado, let's jump into the worst brawler in the game. So unfortunately, making her way back as the worst brawler in the game at number 44, it's going to be Shelly. Shelly's been such a bad brawler for a very long time now. This one mainly is due to the fact there's not a lot of tanks in the meta again. The only meta she's going to strive in is when Poker Double Tank is by far the best combo. And even at that point, she's not the best tank counter either. She's only really good at the beginning stages of Brawl Stars, and you literally never ever see her in competitive. She's just utter trash at the moment, unfortunately, but that's going to be the worst brawler. So at number 43, we have El Primo, and he's gone up 1 space from the worst brawler to the second worst brawler in the game. The only reason for this is because he's got a little bit of viability in the comp. I've seen him a few times in Siege and also on Split in Hot Zone, because BB's a really popular choice, and El Primo is an amazing counter against BB especially. He's got a lot of HP, and once you build up his super, he can be okay. But when it comes to ladder, there's just so many different tank counters that can just destroy him. Got the likes of Mr. P, just really easy to kill. He's got no range as well. So El Primo, the 43rd worst. So at number 42, we have Bull, and unfortunately, again, a lot of Bull's best maps were actually removed in the last update, which, of course, maps do help a lot in terms of a brawler's viability in the meta. But the big one for this in competitive is Pit Stop. Pit Stop went, which was by far Bull's best mode. He probably was the best brawler on that map that got removed. A lot of the heist maps are really control-based, longer range. He just gets completely destroyed, unfortunately. He's not good in any other mode. Heist was his strong point, and a lot of the maps have gone, so he's the 3rd worst brawler. So at number 41, we have Bo, and unfortunately, due to his nerf to the gadget, well, actually fortunately, because that gadget was super annoying and toxic in Bounty, Bo just basically has 0 viability in the meta. The only map in the game I'd recommend him even having a chance of being good on is Snake Prairie. He's actually really good there because of his totem and just his star power, being able to see all the bushes. Other than that, there's not a single map or mode I'd recommend playing him on. He's really bad in the meta, and just that one map alone is the only reason he's not the worst brawler in the game. So coming in at number 40 is Gale, and Gale, one of these brawlers where honestly he could be pretty good with a few balance changes or the meta changing a little bit, but just too much spam for Gale, unfortunately. It can be a good counter for BB in specifics, because you can just use your super, push BB against a wall. You see a lot of time brought out in maps like Split or other game modes where BB is really strong, and he can be actually decent. Again, he's not really too good in the meta. His viability in competitive is going slowly up and up, and probably in a few updates time you could see him being one of the best brawlers in the game. I'm just going to pitch that one out, but Gale, unfortunately, not a lot of viability in the meta. But number 39, we have Dyna. Dyna used to be actually really underrated in the meta a couple of months ago when I used to push, because there were certain Brawl maps where throwers just absolutely dominated, and especially Dynamite. They got removed, and he basically got removed from the meta himself. There's a lot of spam, there's a lot of aggro brawlers, and just way better options on the field than Dynamite, unfortunately. But he's one of these brawlers, as always, which when certain maps come out with a lot of walls, he can be absolutely amazing on, because he's got the damage of a super, and he can keep distance really well. He's really underrated, but unfortunately, not a lot of good maps for Dynamite in this meta. So at number 38, we have Crow. Again, one of these brawlers which got a buff in the last set of balance changes, but that really didn't do too much to him. I think it was like 40% to healing effects. I just really not seen too much from him. He's going to be good on the longer range maps with his slow toxin gadget. A lot of times you can actually keep tanks back, for example. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but in synergy with other brawlers, that gadget can be insane. That's the only viability I've seen him in competitive. He's slowly making his way into competitive. Maybe you might see more viability in the future from him, but again, just way better options in the meta. At number 37, we have Brock, and unfortunately, he's gone from pretty much like 4 months ago, the best brawler in the game, to one of the worst brawlers in the game. They nerfed him way too much, and that was mainly due to his gadget. His gadget used to be so game breaking, but they nerfed his gadget a little bit, but they nerfed his HP and his damage a little bit too much. He's just too squishy for the meta, and there's brawlers like Colt, which basically serve the same purpose as him, but can just do so much more damage and just be way better on the battlefield. It's too squishy for a long-range brawler, and I never see him at all in competitive anymore, which is really unfortunate because Brock's one of his brawlers, which I really like. Hopefully his big rocket gadget gets nerfed and his jump one gets more viability again, and then he'll be a fun brawler in the meta, but unfortunately he just sucks at the moment. So at 36 we have Carl, and honestly the bottom 10 brawlers I could basically put near enough any other positions, because Carl, one of his brawlers, again, not used in competitive at all. He's really bad in the meta. Unfortunately, he did get a range nerf, and Carl's one of these brawlers, I've said a few times, but he's really fun in the meta, and I don't really find him toxic at all. Sometimes it can be a little bit annoying, but he's kind of easy to counter, even when he's meta, but he's just nowhere near the meta at the moment. Just way better brawlers than him. He can be pretty good against brawlers like Sandy, who's really good in the meta, and Mr. P, but basically I don't see him at all in competitive. So coming in at number 35 we have Frank, and he has got a new gadget recently in the game, and it's honestly a lot better than a lot of people think, but unfortunately again he's one of those brawlers that can be really hard to play with because he has a lot of different counters. He obviously stops moving when he actually shoots, which is a huge counter to him. It's just so hard to actually be good in the meta. But with Poco and on certain maps where you want to break open the walls, he can be a really good option, and he's a good tank counter himself. So Frank, he's going to be at that one. So coming in at number 34 we have Lou, one of these brawlers where he's basically only good on one mode now. He used to be good on hot zone on certain maps, but they got taken out of the game, and the meta just really doesn't suit him. You've got other brawlers that just serve his purpose way better. His best mode by far right now is Siege, mainly because, if you guys don't know, he can solo defend a Siege bot. He can throw a super and get the bot stuck onto a wall, but still that isn't enough for him to be meta. Some people saying he has a fast reload speed, which he actually does, but he doesn't do a lot of damage. He only does 3 shots as well per attack, and there's just so much better options for him in the meta. Really isn't that good. So at 33 we have Surge, and although he's literally received no balance changes, he's gone a lot down in the meta rankings. This is mainly due to just other brawlers becoming better than him. Brawlers like Sandy, again, Mr. P, just becoming a little bit too meta, and especially the brawler Sandy, he just feeds so much. Although he can win the 1v1 interaction, that interaction specifically, Sandy just gets super and just wrecks him. That's the main one I've seen. I basically saw no Surge at all in competitive anymore. Even on split, he used to be so OP. I don't see him too often there either, so he hasn't really got too much of a place in the meta. But you can still play him decently. You can basically push him on every single mode if you play him correctly. It's just he's not OP anymore. Alright, so coming in at number 32, you might be surprised by this. It's Ems, and again, it's just a meta evolving. Other brawlers coming into the meta, which she counters really well, has made her pretty decent. So the main thing about her in terms of compositions, Max and Ems is an amazing synergy, especially if you got Ems super. You can just control so much of a map, and a lot of pros have recognized this. Ems has also came back into the meta because of brawlers like BB, Sandy, Pam. Ems is amazing at countering these brawlers, so that's why I see her quite a little bit. I also see in Snake Prayer as well to counter Rosa, which is really weird. People are starting to get adjusted to Ems, and I think with a few more balance changes, making her a bit stronger, which will probably come in the next update, she's going to be even higher on the rankings, so be prepared for that one. So at number 31 we have Piper, and this might be a huge shock to a lot of you guys as well, but Piper in this meta is so bad. You can't even play her in Bounty or Gem Carrier anymore, and that's the main reason why she's so low. Honestly, I wanted to put her a bit lower, but I know a lot of people are going to be surprised and probably annoyed in the comment section that I've put her this low. But there's a few main reasons for this, so I'll explain it as quickly as possible. So the main one for me is the new Mr. P gadget. What this allows Mr. P to do is just throw a gadget straight on top of Piper's face, and if you have ambush with Piper, that can take 3 shots to take down 1 porter. Obviously, Piper has a really slow reload speed, hence why she's just not good as a mid anymore or on Bounty, because Mr. P is just basically seen everywhere right now. You also have the likes of Sprout that can 3-tap Piper, and just a much better option if in play in competitive or on ladder. And there's just a lot of different brawlers like Max as well. Max in competitive is amazing. and just a max speeds just counter Piper too much. You just don't see her anywhere right now in competitive, hence why she's so low. So sneaking his way onto number 30 on the list is going to be Leon, and you might be surprised how Leon is actually higher than Piper on this, but I've just seen so much more viability in Leon in competitive at the moment. You probably won't see him too much, but he can be viable even on bounty maps like Shooting Star. He can be really good against the longer range brawlers. Also on harder at mine gem grab, he's just an amazing pick at the moment, and just better than Piper for sure. He's probably, well, he's way better than Crow in the meta. See him way more, and just the fact that you can cycle your invis heals a lot. And the big change to him in the last balance changes that you can get, I think it's 2 shots up close or 2 attacks, and you're going to get your super back. Small little things like that just make a huge impact on brawlers that require a cycling of a super to be OP. So Leon's going to be really good and underrated in this meta. And at number 29, it is my favorite brawler, Jean. Jean is slowly becoming a little bit more meta. Unfortunately, again, the likes of Mr. P with his new gadget can counter Jean a little bit too much. But in terms of Siege, we see a lot of viability with the likes of Max and Sandy, BB, those type of brawlers. It's actually an amazing pick in Siege at the moment. But because he takes 4 shots to get his super and his gadgets just aren't really good right now, he's a lot squishier than he used to be. He's not going to be good in other game modes, but as I said, if using him in certain synergies with Max, with Sandy, with other kind of brawlers like that one, he's going to have a good time, but it's really comp dependent. So coming in at number 28, we have Penny. This might be a surprising pick for some people, ahead of Piper especially. But honestly, she's a good counter to certain brawlers in the meta. These brawlers are going to be the likes of Mr. P, the likes of Ruffs, the likes of Jessie. She's a really good counter to Jessie because she's got a faster actual bullet speed. And you can just basically counter her with the turret as well if you're placing it in a safe place. She's amazing on the hot zone right now. She can be good on certain maps like Backyard Bowl, in certain compositions. And you see a lot more viability in the meta than a lot of the brawlers I suggested below her. But honestly, she's always one of these brawlers where she's really super dependent. So as long as you're keeping your super in a safe spot, making sure you're protecting it, make sure you're cycling it really well, she can get amazing control. You just obviously got to be careful of his slow reload speed. But Penny, really underrated. So at 27, we have Nani, one of these brawlers which is really map specific because you need a wide open map. Nani's really bad when there's a lot of walls, obviously because she's got a really weird shooting mechanic. But Nani in the open is amazing. She's got a really good super. She's not as good on bounty as she once was because of the bow totem getting nerfed. Before, what you could do is just sit in the back of spawn in bounty, just cycle your heads over and over again. She would have been even higher in the meta if that was still good in bounty, but she's still got to be good in bounty, especially maps like Shooting Star. She can hold her own lane really well. She counters longer range brawlers like Piper, Rock, because she's got longer range. She can deal more damage if you're hitting those heads and hitting the 2.9k shots. Also, she's got a new gadget which can save your life 3 times. Basically, think of it as a cheat code, and then sometimes you can actually get some really nice kills with that gadget. So Nani's just going to be really good in those open range maps. So coming in at number 26, we have Daryl, and I love playing Daryl in this meta, especially on heist. He's making a bit of a comeback in the heist meta because he counters the really squishy brawlers. If you've got your role, you're basically going to be able to kill so many squishy brawlers, as I said. But also in Brawl as well, you've seen a lot of viability with Poco for some reason. I don't know why, it just works so well compared to other tanks. I think it's just his rolling mechanic. What he can do, if you time your roll really well, he can tank so many shots, and people are being a little bit more conservative and clever with their rolls, hence why he's so good. But when with Poco brought out in Brawl, especially in scrims, Daryl is absolutely amazing. I hardly ever lose with him because he's good against those squishy brawlers like Mr. P, like Sandy, that don't do a lot of damage. You can just roll on them and literally just destroy them. But Daryl going to be a really underrated pick in this meta. So at 25, we have Tara, and honestly I wanted to put her quite a bit lower because you don't really see her too much in competitive anymore. But honestly, I feel like she's a lot more underappreciated than she's actually worth. So the main reason for this is because Sandy and Rosa and a lot of different tanks are starting to become a little bit more popular in the meta. But the main one is Sandy. You've got really good counter for Tara to Sandy because of her super and also the gadgets, the ability to scout. But Tara's best mode by far is going to be gem grab at the moment. You're going to see a little bit of her also in Snake Prairie. She's like the #1 pick. In terms of comp, when there's a map that suits her really well, she's going to be so dominant on. But unfortunately, there's a lot of brawlers that can counter in the meta. That's why she's not used as often. So at number 24, we have Spike. And again, one of these brawlers, just like Tara, that used to be so dominant in the meta not too long ago. But too many other options are just way better for him. Even with his curveball, he's got a really slow reload speed, and brawlers, I've mentioned it so many times, but Mr. P just counters Spike so well because the Spike's so squishy. Also with the 5% reload nerf a few updates ago, it's just too much for Spike to handle in the competitive meta. But in terms of ladder, you can pretty much put curveball on Spike and play really well. He's also a good counter to the likes of Sandy, to the likes of Nita, and really an underrated pick in this meta. I've seen a lot of people say that the likes of Crow are even better than Spike in this meta, which I find bizarre because Spike is still really good. It's just there's much better options in competitive, but ladder is a really solid option. Jackie is slamming her way into number 23, and honestly, she used to be so OP in the old meta because of the maps, the amount of walls. She just basically used to counter everything, but now with Mr. P and Sandy in the meta as well, they're her two main brawlers that she counters really well. Mr. P just can't deal with the amount of damage that Jackie can do. 3 shots to Mr. P and he's dead. Same with Sandy, 3 shots to Sandy and he's dead as well. And she's just a really good synergy with a lot of different brawlers. The main mode she's going to be good on is Siege. She can be used in Brawl as well with Poco comps. And other than that, she's not going to get a lot of usage, but when she's strong, she's really good. At number 22, we have Edgar. And I know a lot of people in the comment section below straight away are going to be like, well, Edgar should be a top 5 brawler, surely. In competitive 3v3, Edgar is really, really weak. People have just learned how to play against him. Basically, you just got to try and not allow him to cycle his supers if you keep in a good distance, or you're going to be teaming up 1 versus 2 versus Edgar. You're going to be able to pinch him so easily because he's so low in HP. The number 1 tip, again, is to always conserve ammo. If a brawler conserves ammo against Edgar, there's no way, well, really, unless you're like a really bad brawler that can't do a lot of DPS, that Edgar can actually kill you. In the competitive meta, there's so many brawlers like Jessie, like even Mr. P can even counter Edgar at times, and as long as keeping distance, of course Mr. P can with his porters as well. But you're starting to see a little bit more viability. The main reason for this is maps like Split, maps like Hot Potato. What Edgar can do is pop the super and just constantly cycle supers really well. If there's a lot of walls on the map, Edgar's going to be amazing on, because it's going to be really hard for the enemy team to pinch him out, and Edgar isn't as strong as you all think. At 21, we have Mortis, and one of these brawlers that used to be amazing in the meta, but brawlers like Jessie have came into the meta, which counter Mortis a little bit. But when Jessie isn't in the game, he can be really good because brawlers like Sandy, brawlers like BB, Mortis just absolutely wrecks, and that's the main reason why he's so good. He's going to be good on game modes like Bouncy. He's good on a lot of these hot zone maps that we're practicing on at the moment. He's good in gem grab. He's good against Byron comps. A lot of times, you can get some really good supers and just constantly cycle over and over again. But he's going to be a really annoying pick. Super fun to play in this meta. So Barley is at number 20, and the best mode for him by far is going to be Siege. Still, sometimes you can see a little bit of a fall in popularity, especially in competitive with Barley. But it's still a really solid option as long as you're keeping your distance with him. It's going to be really good. You're seeing a big change in his gadget popularity as well, because the amount of tanks like BB being ran on Siege, especially when people use the slow gadget, it can be really amazing as well. But it's just one of these solid brawlers that can be put in a lot of different combinations and can be played pretty much anywhere. At 19, we have Rico, and I might have put him a little bit too high on the ranking, but as I said in the intro, within 5 ranking spots will be fine enough. But Rico, when he's on a good map like Hot Potato Split, he is so dominant on, of course. His best matchups are going to be tanks, and as I said a million times, that tanks aren't really the meta at the moment. But maps like Hard Rock Mine, Split, Hot Potato, he can just control the map so easily. He needs those walls to be playing really good on. Unfortunately as well, a lot of the Brawl maps like Penalty Kick, I don't think it's in the rotation anymore, and I think it was like 4 or 5 maps that basically like Rico and Dynamite was so insane on, got removed from the meta. So unfortunately he's not as good as he once was, but he's a really solid option and can basically play it pretty much anywhere. So at number 18, we have Colt, and honestly one of these brawlers where people just think that he's one of the worst in the game right now, but in terms of competitive, he is really well balanced, because the main reason you use him for is because of the break gadget. If you're breaking up the map really well, you can have brawlers like Byron, you can have brawlers like Amber. Longer range brawlers are going to be able to thrive even more, and that's the way you got to kind of play him. His best mode by far is going to be heist maps like GG Mortuary is going to be the best map for him for sure. He's like the best brawler on that map. And then even on some siege maps like I'm trying to think, it's some assembly required, you can break open the walls, and if you've got certain brawlers in your combination, you can just absolutely beam with. The thing is, with him, unfortunately, his reload speed's got nerfed, so might not be as good, but brawlers like Brock, who used to be able to break open walls to counter certain brawlers, not going to be nowhere near as good as Colt right now. He's really underrated in this meta. So at number 17, we have Poco. We're seeing a lot more viability with him at the moment because of brawlers, again, like Mr. P and Sandy. They don't have a lot of DPS, so Poco comps with a lot of tanks, with a lot of aggression, can be really good. He's good in game modes like Hot Zone, good in Brawl, good in Gem Grab. He honestly is so underrated. You see him so often, and when he's used in competitive, he has a really high win rate. And Bounty as well, we're seeing return of Poco Double Tank. Maybe in a few updates time, we could see the return of it on a ladder, but at the moment, it's just strictly competitive for how good he is. He's pretty insane right now. At 16, we have a B, and after her gadget nerf, she's dropped out of the top 5, which is one of its brawlers where you can basically play on near enough every single map in the game. She's just a really solid option overall. Of course, in Showdown, she's going to be the best brawler because of her star power Honeycoat, but in terms of competitive, you're not going to see her a lot of the times. Only really in comps I've seen her being played is when there's a lot of wall break options, and then she can start to dominate. But when she's good on a certain map, you can basically 1v3 with her because of how good she is with the slow, with the 3k shots constantly chaining over again. But as I said, not really one of these #1 picks in comp, just really solid option overall. At 15, we have Nita, one of these brawlers where, to be honest, I didn't really see it in competitive like 2 weeks ago. Then she slowly came back into the meta. The main reason for this, she's a really good matchup brawler against Sandy specifically, especially you can get your bears over and over again. We've seen a lot more Poco double tank comps, so Nita is just amazing against tanks. You can keep cycling those bears. If you're using the Fox Fur gadget, it just takes so long to take that bear down, especially with the bear with meat star power as well. You've got so much survivability with the bear, and it's just all about cycling it again to waste the enemy's ammo. It's just really good on game modes like Gem Grab, like even Hot Zone I've seen it being brought out on, and Brawl specifically is going to be amazing. So at number 14, we have Pam. Pam is an amazing in this meta, specifically on the wider open maps. Her best mode for me is going to be Siege right now because of how easy it is to defend with her. She's just amazing with her turret. She got a recent buff to the healing, the amount of healing it does in the turret. She's got a buff to her star power. I can't remember which one it is, but it does 800 damage now whenever you throw it on an enemy every single second. 800 damage is really, really good. If you think about it, that's going to help a lot of interactions, especially when a brawler is really low. You can just throw the turret on, gadget yourself to heal it up. She's just really good synergy with a lot of different brawlers like Max, like Poco. She's just solid overall. So maybe a surprising pick for some people, Tick at number 13, and his new gadget is crazy strong right now. If you see it in the shop, I'd recommend 100% to pick it up before it gets nerfed. Amazing reason for this is basically a cheat code to death. For a whole second, you're going to be invincible, and you get to knock back the opponent, and you get to deal 1000 damage. It's just basically the perfect gadget right now. All of his counters are going to get countered for a long time when he has his gadgets up. You've also got the fast cycling of the tick heads, which obviously got changed like 3-4 months ago, probably longer now. But the fact that you can keep cycling your tick heads to destroy brawlers like Mortars. You've got the gadgets for safety net as well. He's got best mode by far is going to be Bounty right now, but I've seen him being used on Hot Zone as well. Brawl, it's really map dependent, and you've got to be really careful because obviously once you get rid of the gadgets, you're going to get destroyed by your counters. So at number 12, we have Rosa, and Rosa right now is absolutely insane in this meta, especially on any map that has any sort of bushes. The slow gadget is just crazy. It enables her to push up. The tough thing about Rosa was to cycle her supers, but if you're in a good position to cycle those supers, there's hardly anything that can take you down. She's amazing against brawlers like Sandy, like Mr. P. Again, those two brawlers in specific I'll keep mentioning because they don't have a lot of DPS. Hence why Rose is so good against them. But you'll see her brought out on maps like Snake Prairie as well. She's completely changed the Snake Prairie meta because of his gadget. It was 100 damage, and it slows them for 3 seconds. You can get so many good synergies with this Brawl as well. She's going to be good on maps like Hard Rock Mine on Gem Grab. She's going to be good on Sneaky Fields in Brawl. I've got to be a main one. But honestly, in competitive, Rosa is a very strong pick. So at number 11, we have Colette. Colette, one of these brawlers, which you can pretty much use anywhere right now. She's really obviously good against the tankier brawlers, the brawlers that have more HP. She's going to be able to counter, but Just overall, she's really strong. You've got both star powers that can be used now. If you're using the shield one, I recommend using that on game modes like Siege and Heist, the longer range maps. She's going to be amazing on. She's basically got good synergy with every single brawler in the game right now. The brawlers you got to be careful of it. Brawlers like Mr. P can be really annoying with the porters, wasting a lot of ammo. But as to see Colette used basically everywhere right now. If you're using the other star power push it can be really good to counter the likes of Mortis, the likes of Rosa, but amazing in this meta, and BB as well. You're going to be seeing so much viability in her, but Colette is just a solid option overall right now. So coming in at number 10, we have Jessie. Jessie, after her nerf, I thought straight away she wouldn't be a meta brawler, but after some testing, after playing competitive games for like 2 or 3 weeks now, Jessie is still amazing in this meta. I wouldn't really recommend her so much as a mid anymore, except for maybe the ice forts, but even as a lane, we bring her out a lot of times on maps like Minecraft Madness. Jessie is insane as a lane because she can take pretty much every single tank in the game with her slow gadget. That's the best thing about her, in my opinion. It's going to be, well, her slow gadget and the damage that she can output. Obviously, it can be sometimes hard to hit shots with Jessie because of how easy it is to dodge it as an enemy because of how slow it actually is. But if you're slowing an enemy with that gadget and the amount of damage she deals, she can absolutely shred. There's not a lot of counters to Jessie currently in this meta, and I feel like pretty much everywhere I bring her out in, she's absolutely insane on. Okay, so moving on to number 9 in the meta, it's going to be Max. So I wanted to put Max way more higher than this because in competitive, I would say Max is a top 3 brawler. She's absolutely insane in this meta. The main reason for this one, you can play 2 different playstyles of Max. You can play the supercharged star power, which basically you're going to have brawlers that are really good to get the super with. So brawlers I'm thinking of are like Sandy, like Jean, like Ems, that kind of synergy, tanks as well. And what you're going to be doing is constantly speeding them up, getting them into the enemy's faces, building up their supers, keep cycling those max speeds over and over again. And it's so hard to actually hit people once they're speeded up, obviously. That's quite obvious to say, but it just means the enemy team are going to have to fall back every single time you pop your speed with Max. She's basically used everywhere. She's used in mid, in gem grab right now with brawlers like Sandy. She counters the likes of Piper because of how speedy she is. She's got a really good gadget. She's just crazy good right now. Definitely in need of a nerf. At number 8, we have Sandy. And I didn't really understand the buff to Sandy a few balance changes ago, making it so he can easily cycle his supers. It changed from 6 hits to 5 hits, and that's such a big change because a lot of the times what you can do, you can get your Sandy super out and you can basically cycle another Sandy super by the time that one is finished. Obviously that's going to be really good. He's used pretty much everywhere right now. One of the number 1 picks in Siege. He's so good in gem grab. He's good in Brawl, hot zone, literally everywhere. Bounty he's even good in, especially in synergy with brawlers like Max. He's going to be insane because Max with his speed just allows Sandy to get closer. Sandy's got a really good wall peeking as well, and just such a good option in this meta. So coming in at number 7, we have BB. BB is crazy good in this meta. Ever since she got the buff to her HP with the batting stance star power, with her gadget, she has so much survivability right now. It's insane. She's going to be so good on Brawl. Number 1 pick probably in Siege right now. She's just crazy. As I said, that gadget just enables her to stay alive for so long because she's got a reduction in the amount of damage she takes as well. But that shield is so hard to actually get her down. And if you pair her with brawlers like Max, with Sandy, it's going to be so hard to kill her because of the amount of pressure she gets. But as I said, we pretty much use her everywhere right now. Every single mode, she's going to be really open. So moving his way into number 6, it's going to be 8-Bit. And I'm really surprised in the last set of balance changes that he didn't get nerfed because he's so strong right now in this meta. He's good pretty much everywhere right now. Gem grab, Brawl, heist. Probably not bounty, he's not the best on, but certain maps, and he's really good on the longer range ones. Specifically, it's going to be insane. But as long as you're keeping your turret alive with 8-Bit, you're going to be really good. Because obviously, if he doesn't have his turret, if he doesn't have the speed, he's going to be an easy target to hit because of how slow he is. He's combined it so well with so many different brawlers, especially if you sit inside his turret, you get 40% damage. I feel like that definitely needs to get nerfed for him. And if you pair him with brawlers like Byron, if a Byron's in that damage and just constantly shooting you, you're going to get healed so much. You're going to get kept alive for so long. 8-Bit is so broken right now. So moving into the top 5, at number 5, we have Sprout. Sprout is crazy good right now. Ever since they added the additional, I think it's like 100 damage to his attack, he's so strong. The reason why he's not higher on the list is a lot of people have learned how to counter him with really aggressive combinations. But the fact that you can basically use Sprout anywhere right now is insane. The squishier brawlers, a lot of times he's just going to free shot at a long range. The fact that is so good, he can block off with his super so many different choke points. You've got his shield star power that keeps him alive for so long. You've got two really good gadgets. You've either got the one where you can replace the wall and basically defend a siege bot by yourself, which is crazy. And then you have the other one that gives you 2000 HP and just makes you be able to stay alive for so long. It's going to be one of the best mids in the game, one of the best lanes in the game. Sprout is just so good right now. So moving into the fourth best brawler in the game right now, it's going to be Mr. P, and he's crazy broken right now with the introduction of his new gadget. This gadget is so broken, so annoying when you put it up against certain brawlers. You think of the likes of BB, Mortis, Throwers. The brawlers that you have to kind of waste an attack, and as yourself, if you're thinking as a BB, you're wasting an attack to destroy that portal. You're going to drop your shield and hence make her more vulnerable to take down. Mr. P's just basically used everywhere right now. He can be used to counter Piper as well, used over walls to counter turret brawlers. The only big issue for him, he doesn't do a lot of damage, so really tanky combinations can be really threatening to him. But overall in a meta, you can basically use him everywhere as a mid or a lane. So moving into the third best brawler, it's going to be Byron, and honestly I kept switching and changing between the top three in this list. I think they're all literally as good as each other. They all serve their own purposes. But Byron, number 3, the reason why I put him as number 3 is just because of brawlers like Mr. P's gadget can counter him a lot of times, and brawlers like Sprout as well who can free shot him. But Byron is still so broken right now. I've mentioned it a few times, but the fact that he has so many different mechanics to him just make him so good. You've got his star power that he can basically shoot through your teammates and hit enemies at the same time, so you can heal your teammates and deal damage to the enemy team. As I said, you've just got that mechanic in general as well. You've got his super that is so good, that can basically deal like a 4.2 deficit. It can heal you for 2.1k and deal 2.1 to the enemy as well. You can throw it over walls. You've got a gadget that is self-healing that can keep you in the fight for so long. Just everything about him, his range is crazy. I feel like a lot of times when I face long range brawlers, I'm going to be hitting my shots way more easier than those guys as well. Byron is just still so broken. Right guys, so moving into the second best brawler in the game, and literally before this video I changed it from the best to second, but Amber is crazy broken right now. The most annoying brawler in the game for me by far, and it's mainly due to the fact that you can't really dodge Amber's shots. The second that Amber locks onto you, you're going to die. She does so much damage. She's got a lot of range, and ammo is not a problem for her because she'll just kill someone, and by the time they're respawning, she's just cycling her ammo back. And a lot of times it just feels like she has infinite ammo. She's just one of those brawlers that's so annoying to face off against. Her gadget is really good. You can use both star powers. Basically, Amber right now you can use everywhere, pretty much everywhere. She's going to win every single lane in the game as long as you play it correctly. She's so good right now. Every team just ban her in competitive. Alright guys, so moving it into the best brawler in the game, in my opinion, it's going to be Ruffs. And this is mainly due to the fact of the release of his new star power. His new star power is insanely broken right now, especially on defensive maps. A lot of the time, if you can stay next to a brawler, you can just literally get so much HP if you think about it. Over 10 seconds, 300 HP. Over 30 seconds, nearly 1000 HP. And if it's like a minute, you can build them up 2k. And also with the additional HP from the upgrade, it just makes it crazy. Like I've seen Piper in a game over like a minute long, probably 2 minutes long. I've seen Piper with like 7k HP. It just makes it so hard for the enemy team to actually do anything once your team has an upgrade, once you've been next to Ruffs for a long time to get the additional HP. It's just so crazy broken right now. Literally every single team in competitive tend to ban Ruffs because of this. The fact that I can give you upgrades to your teammates makes it impossible for the enemy team to come back, especially if, for example, you have like a, I don't know, like a BB on the other team that's got that doesn't have a power up, but on our team that BB has a power up, that BB has additional HP. It's basically no way you're going to be able to win that matchup. And it's just crazy right now. You can use Ruffs everywhere. He can deal with tanks so well. He's used in every single game mode right now. He's so broken. Right guys, it's going to be the end of today's video. Hope you enjoyed this take. This actually took a long time to make and script out, so I'd appreciate if you drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. But let me know what you think of my list in the comment section below. As I said, this is mainly on competitive, and what I see a lot in competitive and what I don't see a lot. So bear that in mind. Give or take around 5 ranks. I could probably switch quite a few things in there, so it's not completely perfect, but I would say it's accurate and what it would represent in competitive. But that's going to be the end of today's video. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.